Imagine leveraging the power of points and miles to transform your honeymoon into an unforgettable luxury experience. In this episode, we chat with points and miles expert Ryan Horn fresh off his dream honeymoon. Discover how Ryan and his wife turned their trip to Alaska into a five-star adventure, complete with first-class flights, premium cruise accommodations, and unique travel hacks. From using Capital One's travel eraser function to scoring massive onboard credits, Ryan shares insider tips that will change how you approach travel rewards. Whether you're new to the game or a seasoned pro, this episode is packed with valuable insights to help you revolutionize your own travel journey. Tune in to learn how to maximize points, avoid common pitfalls, and make the most of every travel opportunity. Don't miss this incredible story of turning points into priceless memories. Welcome, everybody, to the Revolutionizing Your Journey podcast. I am your host, DeAndre Coke. Before we introduce today's amazing guest, if you've enjoyed our episodes, I have a quick favor to ask. Please take a quick moment to go to our show's page on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen, and please leave us a 5-star rating and a review. You know, that helps the algorithms continue to do the whole algorithm thing and push us out in front of more people who want to learn how to revolutionize their own travels. Now, more importantly, I want to introduce Ryan Horn, and Ryan is an expert in points and miles, and his online tag is at profits and points. And actually, we were connected with him back through the Point Sisters. If you remember Kelsey and Devin back in episode 25, super popular episode. So if you didn't hear that and hear about the Around the World ticket, go back and listen to that. But Ryan, super excited to have you here because we're going to learn about his background in points and miles, travel tips, and also how he hacked his honeymoon that he just got back from. So we're getting him back into the points and miles world immediately coming back from his honeymoon, and he ended up using points and miles to get about $20,000 of travel for his honeymoon at a fraction of the cost. So welcome, Ryan.
Awesome. I am so excited to be here. Loved the Kelsey and Devin episode that you just mentioned. By the way, they have so much knowledge. Hopefully I can even come close to half of the knowledge that they dropped in that episode.
Absolutely, man. Well, I know the listeners are in for a treat today. So, Ryan, before we get into all the numbers and the points and miles and all that, I would love to hear, where are you in the world, a little bit about your background, and oh, by the way, congrats on getting married, and welcome back from your honeymoon.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So I'm based out of the Washington, D.C. area, which is a great place to be for points and miles because we have 2 airports, multiple airlines, a great international airport in IAD. So a great place to be for points and miles. I work as a consultant up here, and I've worked as a consultant since I graduated college. So I'm always on the road, not just for personal, but for my work as well. And that's kind of how I started out in the world of points and miles. So when I first graduated from college, I was on the road a bunch. I was earning points and miles through hotel stays and flying and not through credit cards. And at the time, I thought that is how you earn points and miles the fastest is I just fly more, I stay more nights. And I quickly learned that that is not the case. And you can accelerate that by going the credit card route.
Very cool. So Washington, D.C. So depending on traffic, you're either about 3 hours from me here in Virginia Beach or like 7 hours from me, depending on how traffic goes going up 95. So I love D.C. and you're right. There's some amazing airports there as well. So would love to hear. So you said your start, right, was you just knew I got to either fly the flights or stay the stays to get points. What made you start diving into the world of points and miles as we know it, which is really hacking the points and miles game?
So I think with a lot of us points and miles people, it all starts from like a personal finance, trying to save money aspect. And for me, kind of the start was I was always in airports for work, traveling every week to my client site, wherever that may be. And I was spending a lot of money in airports, eating, having a beer, doing that sort of thing. And I actually got into credit cards originally because I was so attracted to the idea of lounge access. I thought, hey, I could save money, my per diem money, have more money in my pocket if I am getting free food and drink. And this was years ago before I feel like the lounge game kind of exploded and there were only a few in most of the major airports. So my first credit card actually out of the gate was the Amex Platinum card, which is not the first card, I would say. A lot of people end up getting.
So you went out swinging, yeah.
Went out swinging. And at the time, it was like 50,000 point welcome bonus. So I feel like I missed out on the heydays of the 6-digit welcome bonuses that are coming out now for that card. But yeah, but I did it from a standpoint of not points and miles, but hey, I want to save some money on food and beverage while I'm in an airport. I'm in the airports twice a week. Might as well start there. But then when I started to rack up points off that Amex Platinum card, which is not a great points earning card, by the way, unless you're putting flights on it, I started to kind of branch out and get into other credit cards and started to learn kind of my way around the different point structures, whether that be Chase, Amex, Citi, and kind of grew out from there.
Very nice. So Amex Platinum was kind of your first card, and you're right, outside of the 5X on flights, it really doesn't earn points well, but the lounge access, the TSA pre-check, a lot of the benefits that you get with it, you can absolutely more than make up for the cost, since it is such a high annual fee card. So what would you say today are some of the cards that are more of your favorite, more of your go-tos for accumulating points outside of course, opening up new ones and getting the sign-up bonus?
For sure. So I feel like it changes on a yearly to every 2-year kind of rotation now. And I'll say this, like when people ask me like, what is the best card? I don't think there is a best card overall. Like it really depends on your lifestyle. I know you've said this on your podcast tons, but I just want to say that again, that like my list of my favorite cards is not going to be for everyone. But I think my big ones right now are my Amex Gold card, 4 times restaurants and dining. Restaurants, dining, and groceries. So that's like a major earner for me just because I live in DC. There's lots of good food here. I'm eating out at great restaurants.
So good food. Yes, I love eating in DC. Absolutely believe that. For
sure. Yeah. I guess my Capital One Venture X is kind of my 2 times earning card at the moment. I'm a big believer that with all the 2% and 2 times earning cards out there, nobody should be making less than 2 times points on any purchase they make. So that's kind of my fallback if it doesn't fall in a category for another card I have. And honestly, the lounge access on that card is phenomenal for what you're paying in the benefits. So Venture X is another day-to-day one. The Built card, I pay rent. We were just talking before this that I pay thousands of dollars in rent, so I might as well get some points off of it. Did you see that article today or in the last few days about the Built card actually?
I didn't. What's the update?
So there was a Wall Street Journal article that came out that said that they were losing $10 million a month by running that card because their primary clientele are points and miles people who are paying off their balance in full every month. So they are not making money. They're just spending on points. But they have a relationship with Wells Fargo through, I believe it's 2029. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon, but that was a very interesting insight that was reported. It was either today or a few days ago. So I know if you're listening to this, it'll be a few weeks ago at this point. But
for sure. So I want to ask you about the Built card, right? So do you, right? So you have the Built card. You because of course it's extremely expensive to buy anything in DC, right? So apartments are super common. Is looking and seeing if the apartment that you're going to rent is available through Built. Is that a primary factor? And I know because not everything you can do through, or not every apartment works with them, right? So is that one of your primary things? Like, hey, like if we can't put our rent on a card through Built's program, we're not interested?
Yes, actually, yes. But it's pretty wide. As long as you can pay with a checking account, you can pay with a Built card because they give you a routing number and an account number that you can use to pay your rent. So I know it wasn't the case for that when it first came out. Like there was check sending and all that. But as of recently, much easier to find a facility that is taking the built card. They're not taking the built card. They're taking a routing number and a account number, but pretty much only like private, like if you're renting from the grandma down the street, that's really the only place that you can't get away with the built card anymore. But yeah, I love that card. I actually got that about a year ago now in anticipation for my honeymoon. So we can talk about that a little bit later. But and then my last like go-to card is not one that everyone can apply for, and is going to kind of be out of left field, but the American Express corporate card. I get this through my work. So you can only get it if you work for a corporation that will let their employees have it. And it's not a great earning card. You only get one-time points back on all your purchases. But with this card, you get a discount on the annual fee for your personal card. So I get $150 off my annual fee for my platinum card. I get $100 off a year for my gold card. And it makes getting the benefits and my money's worth out of those annual fees much easier because I get those discounts by holding an Amex corporate card.
So I was actually super curious about that because I know my fiance at her previous job, she actually had an Amex corporate card as well. Now, do you actually earn points with the spend through that, or does that all go to the corporation? Because I've seen a lot of times where the company that's basically issuing that card, they're the ones that are accruing all the points for that card spend. So are you earning when you use the corporate card?
For sure. And it wasn't very well advertised in my company, but the company will earn the points typically, but you can call the number on the back of the card and pay an annual fee of, I think, $50. And then they'll link it to one of your either platinum gold card. You have to have another membership rewards earning card, personal card in order to do so, but you pay them an annual fee of $50 and then you can then earn points off of it. So there is a hoops to jump through. You won't automatically earn those points once you get the card, but just by calling, you can get there.
I think that's a great tip because I didn't know that. And I don't know many people that do know that if they were to have the corporate card. So absolutely love that. I know we're going to get into the honeymoon story, but would love, since we don't really have a lot of people talk about Built, because not a lot of people are using the Built card and paying rent and such. So outside of the fact that you can pay rent with it and accumulate points, would love to hear, Ryan, what are some of the things that you really love about this card as far as transferability, how it earns, those type of things, in kind of a big picture in general?
Yeah, for sure. They have great transfer partners. I think they have a pretty wide swath of transfer partners that most people would be interested in. Hyatt, Marriott's not worth transferring to, honestly, but American Airlines, that's going away next month in replacement of Alaska Airlines. But yeah, tons of different airlines, lots of different hotels. So there's just a wide variety of transfer partners. That in addition to, they have Rent Day, which is on the first of every month, where there's usually some sort of bonus. Sometimes a transfer bonus, sometimes a way to earn more points. But they do, on the first of every month, you can earn even more points outside of spend. So there's a lot of benefits, and it's a $0 annual fee card. So it's hard to beat everything that they have for $0.
And that's why they're losing tens of millions of dollars right
Yes.
there. Because
allegedly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before we get into the honeymoon story, would love to hear, outside of the honeymoon story, what have been some of your top redemptions or experiences that you have had through your points and miles journey over the years, right? So whether it's destinations, hotels, airlines, whatever it may be, what have been some of your just top, I really killed it with this redemption and we're now in some amazing location?
For sure. So I love this question because I feel like the average points and miles person answers it with some business class flight to the Maldives, but that would have been my response. Yes. My preferred use of my points, and I think my best stories, I love the fact that I can have a stash of points and make these crazy last minute domestic trips. So I'm super into sports, college football, NFL, NBA, all of that. So one example is back in 2021, I'm a Virginia Tech fan, and they went to the Pinstripe Bowl to play Maryland in New York City. And I found out about the bowl game on a Sunday, bought a flight up, leaving at 6 a.m., rushed to the stadium after a small tailgate in the Delta Sky Club in New York City. Made it to the game in the fourth quarter, had to rush back to the airport. Like that, those are my like kinds of stories of redemption. They're not the best values because they're usually last minute, but I have so many just great stories of sporting events and other things. So another story, back in 2020, middle of COVID, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, hadn't seen her brother for a year because of all the COVID restrictions. And things were starting to loosen up kind of towards the end of the year, much more so than earlier in the year. And she was saying that one morning, a Saturday morning. I said, why don't we just go get on a flight this morning and fly over to Kansas City and then fly back? And that wouldn't have been possible without points. Like I would not have paid thousands of dollars to do that, but because we had the points, we were able to do that. So those spontaneous last minute experiences are my favorite travel experiences with points.
I absolutely love that, right? Because the name of the podcast is Revolutionizing Your Journey. And the key is that everyone's journey is different. And the idea of kind of travel, points and miles, whatever it may be, this is all so that we all can do travel the way that we want to, in ways that kind of revolutionize the general thought process around travel. Because most people would never do what you did, just as most people would never fly business class as a single parent or a family of four to Europe or the Maldives or whatever it may be. So I absolutely love the fact that for you, what it is the fact that you can say, hey, tomorrow morning we're getting on a plane and we're going across the country, and I don't have to really worry about the bill because the bill is in points essentially, and we can have an incredible time in a way that you likely would have never done before or otherwise, outside of shelling out a lot of cash very last minute. So it just changes the way you think about travel, which is really cool as well.
Absolutely. And the sports thing especially too, you find out that you won game 4 and then you got to get across the country for game 5 of a series. Like, I just thought rich people did that. I didn't realize like you can do that with points and miles, you know?
Hey, it's DeAndre here, and we're going to interrupt this episode real quick to tell you about 2 great opportunities for all of you. First, join our private Facebook community to connect with fellow points and miles enthusiasts, get exclusive tips and updates, as well as get your questions answered directly by me and others in the community. And if you're looking to level up your points and mile skills, we've partnered with Lux Travel Hacks to offer you 50% off their online course that will teach you all the basics you need to know to learn how to travel in business or first class, all for less than you'd pay for economy. Don't forget to use the code BOLDLYGO at checkout. You'll find all the details and links to both of these in the show notes. Now, let's get back to our episode. I love that. So we've been teasing it a little bit. Let's talk about the honeymoon story, right? So where did you guys go? How did you use points? What was the transfers like, the redemption, all the things? So I'm just going to kind of shut up a little bit and let you tell us, how was the honeymoon? Where did you guys go? And what was it like?
For sure. In the spirit of being unconventional, we also kind of had an unconventional honeymoon. And I think we wanted to do that from the very beginning. So we picked the exact opposite thing that most people would do. And we decided to go to Alaska. And we did as cold as possible versus sitting on a beach. And it was awesome. So we actually did a cruise, which is, I highly recommend as a way, first time seeing Alaska, because you can see things like Glacier Bay National Park that you wouldn't otherwise get to see if you were doing a land tour. But so we booked a cruise on the Norwegian Encore, and they have this class of room on Norwegian called the Haven. And what the Haven is it's hot tub in the room, butler 24/7. We got fine dining. They call it the ship within the ship concept. So we were kind of secluded from the rest of the people on the ship and kind of had this fancy area with with waiters everywhere. And it was cool. It was nothing I would have ever shelled out the money for ever in my life. But because we kind of found our way there with points, we were able to make it possible. I think an average 7-night cruise in the Haven to Alaska is $10,000 to $15,000 for 2 people. And that's before any add-ons. So like I said, nothing we would normally do with cash. We are not those kinds of people to be shelling out that much money for a vacation, but points made it possible. So I guess we'll start from the beginning. We flew from Washington, D.C. over to Seattle where the ship left. And I'm a little bit of an AV nerd. And there's a new Delta plane that came out over the last year, the A321neo, and their domestic first class cabin has like the dividers, which you don't really see in domestic first class very often, wireless headphones. And I really wanted to get one of those. So we shelled out points for that, actually using a points newsletter. I think my big thing I've learned over the years in points is choose your trips based on the deal versus trying to find the deal. It's often much easier. And I belong to every points and miles subscription newsletter under the sun. So I was just looking for either Seattle or anywhere a cruise would leave. And that's kind of how we chose the cruise ship based on the flight first. So I found a good points and miles deal on Delta where I could find that route where I'd get to fly on the A321neo. And it turned out to be in May, which was awesome news for the cruise because that's kind of pre-Alaska season as well. So the cruise ended up being cheaper and there was less to finagle on that end. So we had a round trip flight from DC to Seattle. And then once we got there, we stayed at a Hilton hotel, Hotel 1000, for 3 nights in Seattle before we got on the cruise ship. I had never been to Seattle before. Like I travel a lot within the US. Have you ever been to Seattle?
I have not. Yeah, no, closest I've probably come would be Vancouver, but yeah, no, I've never actually been to Seattle myself.
It's a cool city. Vancouver's a cool city too, but yeah, Seattle's a cool city. I would definitely go back. There's a lot of points and miles people based out of Seattle too.
I've seen that a lot on the West Coast in general, but yeah, a good amount that are in Seattle.
For sure. But yeah, we got to see Pike's Place and do all that stuff, but we stayed at a Hilton hotel called Hotel 1000, which is also an Amex's Fine Hotels and Resorts program. But for this, we used Hilton points. So I have the Hilton Aspire card, which also comes with an annual free night certificate. And unlike other free night certificates like Marriott's, Hilton's, it's free reign. You can book it on just about everything except for the all-inclusives. So this hotel, I believe, was about $500 a night. There was a Hilton deal transfer bonus at the end of last year, and I almost never transfer American Express points to. I will say I have never transferred American Express points to Hilton. And then Amanda from Amanda Exploring, who's on Instagram, she did the math for me at the Travel More conference last year and was like, it actually makes sense this once with this transfer bonus to transfer to Hilton.
To get it, got it.
Yeah, so I transferred some American Express points to Hilton. I have the math and I can go through that at the end once I finish the story. But yeah, I got 2 nights off points and then 1 night using the free night certificate.
Nice.
And that was incredible. They did the chocolate covered strawberries and all that. It was funny. And I did the thing where you email ahead of time or write them a letter that's like, hey, it's my honeymoon. Like, any chance for an upgrade? I'm a Hilton Diamond member, which you get automatically through the Hilton Aspire card. I do not stay enough nights in a year to achieve Diamond, but you get it through the credit card. And yeah, they gave us a great upgrade, and yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Super
at
cool.
Hotel.
So 3 nights in that hotel, and then we then boarded the Norwegian ship, where basically you had the equivalent of first class on a flight. You had that on the ship itself in the haven. So you said that usually is $10,000 to $15,000 besides
Mhm.
add-ons. So is there a transfer to Norwegian that I'm not aware of, or how'd you get these points to work for Norwegian Cruise Lines?
So there is not. And before I start this point story, I will precursor this with, I realize what I am about to explain that I did is not the best use or the best value use of Capital One points. But in response to that, I will say, I don't care. It was my honeymoon. I wanted to get as much as possible for free. So,
Hey, did you have a good time?
I had a great time.
Did
right?
you make
So,
memories?
yes, I'm not
Right?
always chasing the like cent per point thing. I
Then
am
it's
that
worthwhile.
person that chases that sometimes, but in this situation, it was off the table. So the Capital One Venture X, with Capital One miles, you can erase travel purchases at 1 cent per mile. So I got a sign-on bonus when the Capital One Venture X first started, which was 100,000 Capital One points, which equates to $1,000 erased. I then referred my player two to it, so she got 75,000 at the time. The sign up bonus had dropped. We haven't seen the 100,000 again since that card first came out. So that was 75. So that's another $750 off. I got the referral bonus, which was 25,000 points. That's another $250 off. And then 2 years in a row now, because this is such a great card. Especially if you are not super into juggling a bunch of cards and you just want like a go-to card. If I have friends that want to earn points and miles, but they don't want to deal with the crazy like 10 card setups a lot of us have, I'm like, get a Venture X, use this, check out the transfer partners first and make sure it makes sense. But it's a good like one card solution. So I was able to refer 4 people 2 years in a row to that, and you get 25,000 points for a referral, which is very, very generous. So that's 200,000 points in the 2 years. And then about 50,000 points in spend. So that got us about $5,000 just using the eraser function just off Capital One points. So yeah, that was huge in cutting the cost of the cruise line. I wish I could transfer to a cruise line. The only real option in cruising is to Virgin, because you can transfer, that way. But outside of that, it's pretty hard to redeem points and miles for cruises unless you're going about this crazy Capital One travel purchase eraser route. But there are lots of other hacks too that helped us save money. So one of my favorite ones I like to talk about for cruisers is if you sail on Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, or any of their sister lines, so Celebrity, all of those ones. If you own 100 shares of Carnival stock, Norwegian stock, or Royal Caribbean stock, you can get onboard credit for free. They call it the shareholder stock program or something. And you can just Google that and a form will come up. And if you own 100 shares, you just send in proof that you have those 100 shares. And I think we got $200 in onboard credit that we could spend on the ship just for owning 100 shares of Norwegian. And they'll ask for proof. But if you don't believe in the cruise line industry and don't want to hold that in your portfolio, you can always just buy that stock, get your proof, and then sell that stock. You just have had to own it at any one point in time, right? So
Gotcha.
That got us some onboard credit. You can, the out of season thing that I mentioned earlier, because we were like kind of out of Alaska season by going in May, which was a little early. That dropped the price, so it was closer to 10,000 versus 15,000. You can buy cruise credits. I wouldn't recommend this unless you're an avid cruiser. So we have a bunch of cruise credits because if you buy cruise credits while you're on a cruise, it's typically cheaper than paying cash. So, for example, with Norwegian, we bought cruise credits, these $250 coupons for 50% off, basically, that we can use whenever. So that's another way we save. We use some of those cruise credits there. So that kind of got us 50% off cash. And then points and miles people hate travel agents because we like to control things, I think,
Right.
ourselves.
Yep.
The one time I will recommend a travel agent is on a cruise, and solely for the fact that they can sometimes get you onboard credit deals. I have a travel agent that I use, and she lets me still have complete control over my own trip. I just use her for the onboard credit. So just threw out a bunch of cruise tips too to get onboard credit. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. I'm just
that was
super excited about all this.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So I'm going to take a quick step back. You actually mentioned your player two. So I assume, I'm just guessing, but I assume, is that your wife then is your player two?
It is. Yeah.
So when it comes to points and miles, did she just jump right in with you and you just said, hey, look, I need you to get like this card, this card, this card? She was like, cool, I'll do it. Or she's like, I don't really know. Like, adding credit cards seems kind of sketchy. What was that path like for you guys with your relationship and the player two and running the player two game?
For sure. So it definitely did not start until we were further into our relationship. And I would say she's still not super interested in credit cards or points and miles, rather. But I look at that as an opportunity because I'm over here going through all these sign-up bonuses with like once in a lifetime language, and I'll never be able to get that sign-up bonus again. And I'm going to convince her one day. So I still have there's still lots of opportunity there for sign-up bonuses. She's down to sign up for new credit cards, but it's kind of the more vacations we go on, the more she is opening up. I'll say that, but I don't, she's not full points and miles nerd like I am.
Nice. Very nice. So was the whole honeymoon the cruise, or was there kind of a part B after the cruise itself outside of just kind of making your way back home?
Yeah. So we were 7 days there. We went to Ketchikan, Glacier Bay, Skagway, and Juneau, which was awesome. If you've never been to Alaska, highly, highly recommended. And like I said earlier, your first time, do it on a cruise because there's things you can see from the water that you wouldn't get the chance of seeing on land. So I think next time we would want to do it on land. But we made our way back to Seattle and we spent another night. And I booked this one actually during the cruise, but we had such a great time at Hotel 1000 that we spent another night when we got back at Hotel 1000. And I used my Amex Platinum's $200 fine hotel and resorts credits, since they are a fine hotel and resort. And that was an easy, I think it was, I spent it was $350 that night because it was a Sunday night. So I spent $150 after getting that credit, which we got a $100 like dining credit, breakfast for two. We got an upgrade. Funny enough, we got a better upgrade with the fine hotels and resorts program than when we told them it was our honeymoon.
Nice.
But yeah, we went back there and then we flew back. So
got it.
We're lucky enough to go on a lot of points and miles trips. So yeah, it was shorter than other people's honeymoons, but we had an awesome time and it was incredible when traded for the world.
That's all that matters. Without getting too deep into the numbers, kind of at a high level, roughly, and how much do you think you actually shelled out from a point standpoint? And what do you think the total kind of rough value of the cost was for you? And maybe, if you care to share, kind of what did you actually shell out in cash, right? So what was the savings actually there? Because I think that's a huge piece where, you just had an amazing kind of first class experience for your honeymoon that was really built by points and miles. So what did that final number end up looking like?
I would say we spent in total about 600,000 points between American Express and Capital One. And then I would say it would have cost, if we did everything with cash, about $15,000 to $20,000. And we probably spent 4 to 5,000 instead. So about 75% off.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's huge.
yeah.
I mean, 4 to 5 grand is typically would be the cost of someone like not getting anywhere near that level that you got, right? That's nice for a few days at like an all inclusive, maybe in Mexico or something like that. But a cruise with butler service, a hot tub in your room on the cruise ship, right? I mean, that's a whole different experience.
Yeah.
Flying first class from across the country as well, or technically business class, but it's pretty much a first class experience. So that incredible story, Ryan, and glad that you and your now wife were able to really experience that, and you got worked on that strategy over the past year or so. So my question for you, when it comes to someone that's looking to get into points and miles themselves, right? You just named a few different tips as we've been talking, but what would you say would be some common pitfalls to avoid? Right. So, we talked about the benefit of just kind of going after it. Doesn't necessarily have to be the best redemption, although we talk about the 2x and all the different things, but the trip made your heart happy, and that's what matters. What would you say would be some common pitfalls to avoid in the points and miles world?
For sure. So I think the biggest one I've noticed, and it's been more of a recent trend. So I've been doing points and miles for almost 10 years now. And I feel like 10 years ago, it was a lot of nerds that just really liked numbers like me. And now it's much more common, which is awesome because everyone deserves to travel off points and miles. But with that come a lot of people that should not necessarily be in the points and miles during their financial journey. So I think the biggest pitfall, the number one, which unfortunately I think we're seeing more and more, is if you're not paying off your credit card bills in full every month, you're probably not gonna, the points and miles you're earning are probably not going to outweigh what you're spending in interest. So just being cognizant of that. I have a lot of friends that carry some sort of credit card debt that have asked me over the past 2-3 years, like, how can they earn more points and miles? And it's like, no, like, focus on your credit card debt first. Like, let's get your financial house in order before we start chasing this.
100%. As a financial advisor, I mean, that's something that I always have to co-sign on and really point out and stipulate that that's a huge thing for the listeners as well. I've mentioned this before in previous episodes, but I mean, I've had clients that have done the same thing, right? They said, hey, look, we're looking to get more into points miles, because they know that's a kind of a rare expertise that I have as a financial advisor. And it is where I pulled them away and I said, hey, look, you're not ready yet. As much as I love this world and talk about it and all those different things, you're not ready yet because of exactly what you just said. It doesn't matter if you get 2x points on your Capital One Venture X, but you're paying 22%, which is essentially 22x you're paying in interest on the balance that you're carrying over. So I do love that you pointed that out. Anything else that you'd say kind of comes to mind as something, a pitfall to avoid?
I think the other big thing, which I was very guilty of very early on, is hoarding points. Spend them, don't save them. They are there for you to go out and spend. The value of your points are going down over time. It's like inflation taking away the value of the dollar, right? If you're holding on to them, they're only going to get less valuable. And unlike cash, which you can kind of beat inflation with investing, you can't invest your points, right?
Right.
So use them. They're there for you to take a great vacation. I was such a hoarder when I first started. I think I just like seeing the number go up, but I was never actually using them. So now I have the opposite problem. I probably spend too many points and wish I had a little bit more of a reserve, but
so earn and burn, as we say.
Earn
and burn the points. Perfect. So when it comes to kind of picking that next destination, like you just said, right, where you're earning, you're burning, are you and your wife, are you guys looking, I mean, do you have some trips in mind that you're really wanting to take here, either for the rest of this year or into next year? Do you have some ideas of where you want to spend the points, or are you getting these, dozen different notifications a day through all these sources of deals, and you just say, oh, this looks good, let's book that? So how do you foresee this playing out for you as far as how to get to your next trip?
It's kind of a combination of both. So we have a few planned things. So we're going to Mexico and Belize in the fall around Thanksgiving. So that's kind of a planned points trip already. And then I have planned sports trips throughout the fall once the football season starts. So those are kind of planned. Outside of that, yeah, I'm going to let the deals drive me. So if you don't subscribe, I won't endorse any single one in particular, but if you don't subscribe to a points and miles / cheap flight newsletter and you can afford it, give one a try, because you can find some pretty good deals through that. If you find a cheap flight, then you have more money or points for the hotel room, and everything else kind of falls into place. So yeah, I have a few sports trips planned, and then that trip to Central America. But outside of that, we'll see where the we'll see where the newsletters take me.
When it comes to sports, is there a specific team that you're following for the trips, or do you just like sports in general and you just love going to see a great game or a great matchup?
Both. I am a fan of Washington teams, which is great because our tickets are super cheap because they're all super bad. I actually, so this is tangentially related to points and miles. It's still in the realm of saving money, but about a year or two ago, I got really into StubHub hacking, which is showing up to a venue, waiting till the last second with your eyes on premium seats and waiting for like the price drop. Maybe even like purchasing the cheapest ticket you can get, getting in the stadium, and then still going on StubHub to see if you can get to the premium section. And I've seen some awesome parts of stadiums by doing that. Sitting behind home plate for baseball games. Last year for 3 different games, actually, I got to sit in a suite at NFL games, and I did it for less than $200 just by buying cheap tickets and getting in the stadium and then just refreshing. You have to be prepared for disappointment with those kinds of things. You can't go in like hoping that you're going to do it. You just got to be grateful if you do. But yeah, I'm down for any cool sports experience, but I am a fan of Washington teams. So the Commanders, the Wizards, all of that.
Very cool. Awesome, Ryan. This was awesome. I love the tips and everything on the cruise side of thing, and how, again, you even did the points and miles game differently. Like, I know you put the disclaimer on there, like, hey, this is typically a terrible way to use points, but terrible is really related to the math behind it, because realistically you still had a great time, you had an incredible trip, and you didn't fork out a lot of cash to do so. And as someone who loves travel myself, someone who's a financial advisor, and I'm all about, hey, like, use money properly, have fun, but save money where you can, invest money where you can. Like, I love that, right? So although the math doesn't always work out in our favor when it comes to some of these redemptions, the ones that do are great, but at the end of the day, it's about doing what makes your heart happy, and you and your wife clearly had an incredible time, which is awesome. So Ryan, as we start to wrap up here, would love to just ask, what would be some general tips that you would just kind of put out there for the listener that wants to either get more into points and miles? Maybe they're trying to figure out, well, what card do I go with, or what loyalty program do I focus on? Like, what would be just some general tips you'd throw out there? Or for the one that's a little bit more experienced, they've gotten kind of through the tier 1 cards and they're just like, I don't know where I go next. What would you say?
Looking at unconventional ways to earn points. So I know there's a big emphasis in our hobby on sign-up bonuses, because that provides you a huge influx of points. But there are so many other ways that you can earn influxes of points, whether that be retention offers, whether that be referrals, whether that be through spend. So for example, the way I got a lot of those points to spend on my honeymoon was because I made sure that vendors that we used for our wedding took credit cards. And a lot of vendors do not take credit cards that do weddings. They want Venmo or something. And that was kind of a requirement, right? So looking at these unconventional ways to earn points can really accelerate your game. I know there was a way, it's dead now, a few years ago though, where you could pay your mortgage with a credit card, and other techniques like that. So be creative. Don't just rely on sign-up bonuses, because there's so much more to take advantage of out there.
Absolutely. I love that. So Ryan, where can the listeners follow you? What's the best way for them to connect with you through social media and all the things?
For sure. You can follow me on Instagram at Profits and Points. I have a YouTube page as well, a Facebook, all of that. I've been a little silent lately because I was busy getting married and honeymooning and all that, but I'm going to be back to posting updates soon. I try to provide the latest and greatest news from the most unbiased opinion possible. So definitely check me out there. I appreciate it.
And love an unbiased opinion. Love someone that's sharing great content. And I know that I'll actually get to meet you in person because you're speaking at the Travel and War Conference, which is going to be down in Dallas in November. And my fiance Taryn and I are going to be headed down there as well. We have a lot of people that are speaking there that actually have been listeners and also speakers on our show. So super excited to see you there and super interested to hear what you're going to talk about and all those different things. But really appreciate you taking the time out today. I know you just got back from the honeymoon and just getting back into the swing of things with everything. So taking the time out of your busy schedule for this podcast and this episode, it has been fantastic. So thank you so much. Quick question for you, or two last questions for you. One question that I ask is, who else should we invite on this show?
Ginny Grady from At the Grady Bunch. She is a master at stacking. And if you don't know what that is, that's stacking a bunch of different methods on top of each other to earn as many points, cash back, all that as possible. So she's using coupon codes and shopping portals and the right credit card and Amex offers and all that. So she is an expert at that. And she's also an expert at American Airlines too, and those kinds of redemptions. So she's a wealth of knowledge.
Super cool. Well, we actually have been in contact with her. So we're actually,
awesome.
So we're actually looking to get her on the show as well. So no, I appreciate that. Let her know that you gave her the shout out as well. Ryan, before we end here, any final thoughts that you want to throw out there or share before we wrap up?
Points and miles are meant to give you experiences that you couldn't otherwise get, or you'd have to pay cash to otherwise get. So earn and burn, use them, because at the end of the day, that's what they're there for. So that's my final thought. Dr. Schultz style. We'll be right back. Sorry, that was a dumb joke. You can cut that.
I don't know if I'm going to. That was great. Awesome. So Ryan, I completely lost my train of thought now. Perfect. Well, you're right. Earn and burn the points. Use the points wisely. Like you said, it is all about doing travel differently. And again, the podcast, Revolutionizing Your Journey. Our goal is to help the listeners and help those that follow us revolutionize how they view travel. And that means so many different things to so many different people. It could be using points and miles. It could be taking their young kids on travel that they never thought of before, going to the all-inclusive, going to the Maldives, flying business class when you're trying not to spend too much for an economy ticket. I mean, there's so many different things in the points and miles world. And Ryan, super appreciate you again for joining in. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love the podcast. So happy to finally be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you. For the listeners out there, thank you for tuning in as well. Just want to remind you guys, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, follow us, do all the different things. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter as well, which you can do so on our website. All the links are in the show notes. And as always, we'll catch you next week for the next episode. Take care. Have a good one.